Hey, it's me. It is later on Sunday night, what day is it? 6th of March, yes. And I kind of decided after my library visit today that I was going to do a little impromptu book vlog for this month. So I wound up vlogging a little bit earlier of my return to the library for the first time in person, which you will have already seen by now, but I figured I wanted to share my little baby Yoda card. It's so cute. It says, "Read, this is the way," and it's just a regular card with a little fob that you can put on your keychain. I didn't even have to get a new library barcode number or anything. It's so cute. I love it so much. And then the other book that I picked up that I did not show you earlier is The Monsters of Rookhaven by Padraig Kenny. This is a really cool looking book about a girl with a weird, eccentric, maybe monstrous family, and it's a middle grade fantasy, so it's like basically everything I've ever wanted. And then I got The Return of the Library's 10 to Try, which I love so much. The library system in my county does a reading challenge every year. I think this is for adults, but oh no, it says it's for all ages. It's like anyone can do it, and you're supposed to read something new. So there are 10 prompts, and you have the entire year to fill them in. When you finish, you get to either record them online or on this bookmark, and you can take them to the librarians. They will enter you in a drawing for a basket of books of the library's choosing. So obviously I have to. The prompts are: the cover is your favorite color, set somewhere you have wanted to visit, main character is over age 50, by an Asian or Asian American author, about a library or set in a library, set in another century, a one-word title, recommended by a friend, has won an award, and recommended by library staff. That was actually how I found Monsters of Rookhaven, it was on the staff recommendations table at the library next to the bookmarks. So I figured I would put that in here. I think I've probably, how many books have I read this year? How many books have I read this year? Let's find out. I'm filming you on my phone right now, which is why I'm having to go to Goodreads over here. But I think I've probably completed about half of these prompts, if I had to guess. Let's see. Anna Goldberg Reading Challenge. I've read 28 of 100 books for my goal. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that I've completed a significant number of these challenges. I'm just gonna have to go through and actually sit down and record all of them in here. It's been like a really good series of books so far. I'm impressed. I also wanted to share with you, I had a really exciting bookstore date with a friend that I finally got to meet up with in person, and that is Nicole. I will put in a little bit of us exploring the bookstore in just a minute here. But Nicole is fantastic. She is a friend that I met via another friend, and we finally got to meet up in person for the first time this month. She came to visit Seattle, and we met up and went to Elliott Bay Book Company together. Nicole runs the fantastic Betty's Pages bookstore, which is in Lowell, Michigan. I have not made my way up there just yet to visit her store, but everything that I've heard about it is amazing. Nicole has an amazing Instagram and TikTok as Betty's Pages, so I'll put those in the description box down below because I would really encourage you to go look at her store, find and support a queer woman veteran-owned business. She's amazing. She's doing really incredible work with this shop, and I love her to death. She's awesome. So we got to spend a lot of time wandering around Elliott Bay, and my in-laws very kindly sent me a gift certificate to the bookstore for my birthday, and I bought 5 books. So I want to tell you about those because I'm going to be reading them this month and probably vlogging about them a lot. This one is Never Say You Can't Survive, How to Get Through Hard Times by Making Up Stories by Charlie Jane Anders. Charlie Jane is an author that I absolutely adore. They have worked with the band The Double Clicks, which I also adore. Queer, trans, amazing, sci-fi, lesbian, badass type person. I also just recently learned that Charlie Jane is partners with AnnaG Newitz. I didn't realize that the two of them were partners until just now, and I'm like, oh, it all makes sense now. But this is Charlie Jane's essay collection about writing. There's nothing better to get as good writing advice than your favorite writers writing about writing. I'm finding this to be really helpful for my own personal writing goals. Even if I'm not writing novels at the moment, this is like something that is really important to me. And also I just love the way that she writes, and it's so good. Okay, I also picked up Before the Coffee Gets Cold, which is by Toshikazu Kawaguchi, excuse me. This is a short book about people that time travel at this coffee shop, but the only caveat is that they can go back anywhere in time they want, but they have to be back in the cafe by the time the cup of coffee that they order gets cold. Found out about this thanks to Cece from Problems of a Book Nerd recommending it on her channel absolutely ages ago. Cece, if you're watching this, I'm just now getting around to reading this because of you. This has been on my list forever, and it's just been like a series of unfortunate delays, but I'm finally gonna read it because it's my birthday, god damn it. Another book that is translated from Japanese is The Cat Who Saved Book by Sosuke Natsukawa. This is another sort of fantastical, fabulous type of story about a boy whose grandfather dies and leaves him a secondhand bookstore. He's about to shut it down, and then just as he's about to close the doors on the final day, this mysterious talking cat shows up and tells the teenage boy that he needs help finding lost, forgotten, and abandoned books. I mean, like, do I need to say any more? There's literally the cutest friggin' cat in the world coming in and out of books, and I want to read it, and I'm dying to. I felt very extravagant because since it was birthday money, I was able to afford to buy 3 hardcovers, which is a lot. And then I also got 2 paperbacks. One was The Donut Trap by Julie Tew. This is part of my, oh my god, I fucking love romance novels now. If you're new to this channel, I actually started a little series back in 2019. I think I should probably add on to it at some point about realizing that I had not read any romance books whatsoever, really, and then needing to get into reading this genre more because it was a big gap in my bookish education. And this is about 2 people that fall in love over family donut shop rivalry, and it looks so cute, and I love it so much. I have had such a craving for these sort of like sweet stories with a strong emotional core. When I say sweet, I don't mean like sappy and saccharine. I mean like, oh, genuine emotion. And romance has really been delivering with that for me lately. I started out just reading romance that I was getting by my book club because I wanted to learn, and now I seek out so much of it on my own. So I was very happy to pick this up just randomly off the shelves and be like, yep, donut shop romance, got it. And the last one is actually one that Nicole told me she had heard about, and I haven't read mysteries in forever. This is Shady Hollow, a murder mystery by Juno Black. This is a cozy mystery that I believe is the first in an upcoming series, and all of the main characters are animals. The main character of this book is a freaking fox. She's a reporter, and she has to get to the bottom of this murder mystery. I love this stuff. You may not know this about me because it has been quite some time since I last read mysteries on the reg, but when I was a teenager, that was easily my favorite genre of book. I devoured mysteries, and I read everything. I read all of the like Scandinavian hard, gritty crime stuff that I can't really read anymore now because mental health reasons. I would read cozy mysteries. I read historical mysteries. I read every single Nancy Drew and Agatha Christie book that my library had one summer when I was a teenager. I fucking love mysteries. But it's been too long since I last read them, and you know, when you get out of practice with something, sometimes it's a little bit hard to get back into it, even when it is a beloved genre and something that you just really miss. So who knows, maybe this will be my return to a favorite genre, and even if it's not, I think it's going to be a really good read. Then my final book that I did not purchase with this gift certificate, but because it is a book and because it is related to my birthday, I was gifted by, as I unwrap it, my very dear friend Noor, a copy of John Harper's amazing game Blades in the Dark. This is a game that is just so fun. I've played many different iterations of it, but I have never played the actual original Blades in the Dark, which is sort of a grim gothic Victorian type fantasy city. And a lot of the gameplay is actually based around, you know, different agencies, whether it's like a mafia or a cabal or a society of like secret thieves that the characters are all part of. So it has a very sort of heisty criminal underworld tone to it, and you all play as members of like a same crew that are trying to do jobs together. That's the main loop of the game. There are a lot of tabletop games, if you know, like D&D, where you're adventurers and you're going out to kill monsters and get loot. Or Zweihander, the game that I worked on, is, you know, a grim and perilous game where you are constantly being tempted by the winds of chaos to forfeit your soul for dramatic reasons. This is just be gay, do crimes, the RPG. You know, be gay, be queer, be trans, do crimes. So I'm really excited to play the original version of this. Like I said, it's been adapted since into a bunch of different settings. So there's one that's sci-fi on spaceships. There's one that is a sort of social commentary on Victorian city hierarchies. There's one that's like historical battles. It's really cool, and so thank you so much, Noor, for giving me this. Yeah, I will make sure that I link down to their socials as well, because they're a cosplayer, but they also do a lot of cool like bookstagram and bookish related fan things. They're also the person that I wholeheartedly credit for getting me into Lee Bardugo via Six of Crows. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. After this, you will probably be seeing the footage that I took earlier today when I went to go visit the library. So check you out in just a little bit. Bye. So hopefully the audio for this doesn't completely suck and you can actually hear me, but I am very excited because I just went to my local library in person for the first time since everything shut down in 2020 due to the pandemic. I'm so happy. I could legitimately cry. It was so great. We've actually moved, so my local library is different than it used to be. So it's actually pretty cool. I went in, I had to return a bunch of books that I had checked out pre-pandemic, and they're all so massively overdue, but thankfully my county library system has decided to waive late fees. Sorry, there's a bunch of like screaming children and I keep getting distracted. My library has decided to waive late fees thanks to the pandemic, so much appreciated, library. Thank you. I went and I got 5 books that I just picked up off the shelves because of random browsing, serendipity. So happy to do that again. Will I read all of them? I don't know. Maybe I'll do a little bit of a vlog about that, considering that I just got 5 books from my in-laws for my birthday. So we shall see. I want to rate this library pretty highly, I think. The selection was fairly decent. It's one of the smaller branches, but we are near towards one that's a little bit bigger in a mall. So between that and the fact that my library makes it really easy to request books from wherever, it's pretty easy to pick up. There's also a big selection of ebooks and audiobooks, which is how I've been doing all of my library stuff literally since the pandemic started because the buildings have been closed. I was very appreciative of that. As far as the physical building itself, it's nice. There's a lot of seating. They still require masks indoors, which is a big plus. I'm actually outdoors away from people, which is why I'm not wearing one right now, but I have my mask that I wore indoors, and they provide masks and hand sanitizer as well as a bunch of free COVID resources. See what I mean? A bunch of free COVID resources that are really useful and in a variety of languages too. As far as library accessibility goes, for my purposes, the library is 2 stories. There's parking and a book drop on the lower floor, and there's also an elevator to get up to the upper floor, which was important for me because, hello, brought Rosie with me. You're officially named Rosie now, Kane. Have fun with that. And they also have a little like cane holder, which you'll see. Put Rosie in there while I was checking out my books. And I think that's great. I wish that more places of commerce and public space had those, because as you can see, I have this little like wrist strap that I, use if I need to have like 2 free hands if I'm standing at a counter or something. But it's really nice to be able to just put the cane down for a second,
not have it attached to my arm so it's not banging into things, which, you know, it's either banging into things or I'm dropping it. If I go to a counter and check out, it's one or the other. So it was nice to just have the little like pop in, pop out cane holder at the checkout. I appreciated that. They have self-checkout, they have, the librarians can help you out, and they even have a thing where you can check out a reusable bag for free, which I thought was really nice. Like, if you wanted to check out a lot of library books, but you didn't have a place to carry them, they would let you check out a reusable bag for free. So all in all, I would rate this library pretty dang highly. I really like it. I'm glad to be back. Oh, I have to show you, I'll show in the other video, but I made a separate stop at the library because they do Baby Yoda library cards now. So I had to make a stop and get one. And now it's like 5 o'clock-ish. Sun's not gonna set for another hour. I think I'm gonna go for a little walk, maybe listen to an audiobook while I walk. And yeah, I think that'll be quite a lot of fun. So see you in a minute. Looks like some people made raised beds, which can mean only one thing. Spring is near. See what I mean? Beautiful daffodils. Oh, and these guys, I think these are hyacinths. Let's see. I'm pretty sure that's what they are. Yep. And then we found a random drawing on the sidewalk.
Got my wonderful, lovely Pacific Northwest lighting going on here. Also a weird angle. Hi everybody, it is Tuesday the 8th. I'm just checking in about what I've been reading so far. Also, happy International Women's Day for those of you who are celebrating, which I hope is all of you, because women are great and amazing and worthy of celebration. So I'm just checking in with what I've been reading. I finished up Never Say You Can't Survive a couple days ago. I really liked this book. It was like a good combination of writing advice and kind of a pep talk from a favorite author. By the end of it, there were a couple things that got a little bit repetitive at times, so I kind of felt like that was maybe because this book is kind of easy to pick up and put back down and flip to random points and just read a chapter here and there. But if you're reading it cover to cover, it does get a little bit repetitive sometimes, but I enjoyed it. And then last night I started reading Gallant by V.E. Schwab. It's been forever since I read something by her. I think the last thing I read was back when I was reading the Darker Shade of Magic books. And I don't think I ever finished that series, now that I think about it. So I started reading that last night. It's very gothic and spooky. I heard it described by my friend Nora as kind of The Secret Garden meets Crimson Peak, so I really wanted to read it. Right now there is a main character who is a girl who is non-speaking, and she can see ghosts or like ghouls or something. It's a little mysterious what the nature of that is, but she's also been like summoned from the orphanage where she's been living since her parents died by a mysterious uncle that she didn't even know existed, being summoned to his like spooky old estate. So we're gonna see where that goes, but I'm enjoying reading it. The other thing that I am working on reading this month is related to Nicole's Challenge Your Shelf thing that she does over at Betty's Pages, and we are reading books for Women's History Month because March is Women's History Month. So I'm reading through a poetry collection right now. It's called One Kind of Woman by Kate Baer. This is actually the author's first book, and I'm liking it a lot so far. I'm taking it pretty slowly. Really good poems. And then the other book that I got for this is Mary Wears What She Wants by Keith Negley, which is about a real-life woman named Mary Edwards Walker, who was one of the first like women to be practicing medicine, and she was arrested many times for wearing pairs of pants. It's one of those things that kind of seems a little bit ridiculous to me now, that there were so many rules about women not being allowed to wear pants. But dress and gender and clothing and all of that stuff is super complicated, and people have written entire books on this sort of thing. So I'm interested to see how that story pans out getting the children's book treatment, mostly because I'm also really interested in how like history gets adapted into books that are written for a younger audience. So that's it. Quick check-in today. I'll be back in a little bit as I update with more reading. See ya. Hey, it's me again. I figured I would go ahead and film a little wrap-up for this March reading vlog since I am actually about to be going out of town to visit some family members soon, and I am bringing books with me that are more for April for the Disability Readathon. So I'm going to do a quick wrap-up of some of the books that I read at the end of March. Not all of them, but just some of the ones especially that I think going into the Disability Readathon you'd like to hear about. So first up was Stars in Their Eyes, with the words by Jessica Walton and the artwork by AnnaG. This is a middle grade graphic novel about a young girl who is disabled. She is an amputee, and her getting her first crush on another person, another non-binary youth, at a geek convention. This takes place in Australia, which is interesting. I didn't realize that originally until there was some slang that I had to look up that I didn't recognize at all, and I was like, hang on, wait a second. What is this all about? This book was very cute, short and sweet. There was definitely some more like heavy-handed prose at the end about like accessibility, disability, and inclusion, but I think it's okay that it was a little bit more on the nose because the main like theme of this book was kids accepting themselves and being happy with who they are. So while that is, you know, maybe a little bit overly simplistic, I think it worked for a kid's book. I loved this. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really hope that this author writes more, and I would definitely recommend it if you're looking for a graphic novel or a middle grade or queer book for the Disability Readathon. I then also finished One for All by Lily Lanoff. This is a YA book that I've heard described as a gender-bent retelling of the Three Musketeers, but it is so much more than that. I loved the musketeer swashbuckling type stuff in this. It is about a girl named Tanya who wants to become a musketeer and a fencer, just like her father. But when her father dies under mysterious foul play circumstances, Tanya has to take it upon herself to avenge his death. Tanya also has something akin to POTS, which is a disability of the autonomic nervous system, and basically it causes like dizziness and fainting and weakness because of a sudden drop in blood pressure that you get upon standing. So I know that that's something that the character shares with the author. I also know that the author was an NCAA athlete who fenced with this disability, and I was interested in reading more about like how she was going to adapt that for a historical setting. And I also thought that this was fantastic. As a fan of the original Three Musketeers book, I would definitely recommend this, and I would also recommend it if you're looking for disability in historical fiction that's done right. Speaking of, I also finished reading Show Me a Sign, which is by Anne-Claire Lizotte, and this is another example of historical fiction that does disability right. This is about a young girl named Mary Lambert who is deaf and lives on the like deaf colony, I guess that's on Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts. This takes place shortly after the American Revolutionary War, and most of the people on this island or like on this town know someone who is deaf or are deaf themselves, and a lot of the history in this was actually about Martha's Vineyard Sign Language, which is a distinct language in and of itself that had major influence on the creation of American Sign Language. So this is a book about, you know, Mary kind of trying to find her place in the world. She's still grieving her brother's untimely death, and there is this like weird stranger that comes to the island that is wanting to try and figure out the source of the problem, in air quotes, with the deaf people there. So a lot of this is actually about like deaf culture, which does not see like the you know loss of hearing or the absence of hearing as a problem to be overcome, but rather a feature of culture and identity, and deaf culture as something to be celebrated. So I really liked this. I learned that there was a sequel to this book, which I now have on hold from the library. I'm definitely looking forward to reading that. Also, I thought that this was kind of cool that the author, who is also deaf, worked for the Alachua County Library System, which was my old library system before I moved to Washington a few years back. So that's really cool. I saw she had that in the acknowledgement section of her book. And then lastly, I also read Fall Down 7 Times, Get Up 8. A Young Man's Voice from the Silence of Autism by Naoki Higashida, and Introduction and Translation by K.A. Yoshida and David Mitchell. This is a sort of autobiography / memoir of a young man who lives in Japan. He is autistic and non-speaking, and he writes all of his, I guess you could call them essays or reflections. Basically did all of the writing for this book with a combination of writing on his computer and on a homemade alphabet grid that he made as a way to communicate with other people around him by phonetically spelling out Japanese words because he is non-speaking. I really enjoyed reading this collection. I honestly didn't really know what to expect, but I thought that it had some like really good and interesting reflections on what it is like being a non-speaking person, especially in our world, which is so focused around like verbal communication and all of its types. I was interested in the way that the author talked about, you know, his experience traveling to different countries and how different countries' like attitudes towards autism and disability shaped the way that he was treated or accepted there. And it also includes some short poems and a little short story, which I also thought was interesting. I know this author had written another book called, I think it's called The Reason I Jump, when he was a teenager, so I will probably try and check that out of the library as well too. This just so happened to be on display at the library the last time I went, and I thought, well, Disability Readathon is coming up, so yeah, I figured that I would read that. One more thing I have to show you before I go is that we got our bookmarks already for the Disability Readathon. So if you would like to get a bookmark for this readathon, send us a Twitter DM at Disability Read on Twitter. We have these really cool, it's upside down, really cool blue, pink, purple bookmarks that say Disability Readathon on them. And then on the opposite side, darker purple, you can see it's hashtag Disability Readathon, established 2019, and then it's got our website, so disabilityreadathon.com. So if you're interested in getting some bookmarks, we're also going to have buttons with a similar design. Shoot us a DM on Twitter, and I will make sure to mark that down and get those sent off to you. So that is all I have for you for the month of March, folks. I am excited to be vlogging April and vlogging the Disability Readathon itself, sharing my thoughts about those books. So yeah, I hope that you'll be along for the ride. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.